Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Write Project podcast and radio program. This is a show about writing and modern Newfoundland author culture. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew, author of such novels as Touch Your Nose and Jacoby Street, and founder of Engine Books. Let's see what we have today.
Hello, we are here on a very special episode of the Write Project podcast. We have three authors from the Breakwater Books collection, Us Now, stories from the Quilted Collective on the line. And they're going to be answering some of the questions most posed by you, the listeners of the Write Project podcast. On the line, we have Tzu-Hao, we have Xaiver Michael Campbell, and we have Dr. Richard Elcock, as well as collection editor Lisa Moore. Let's begin.
Tzu-Hao, what is your favorite comic book character?
Oh, Doraemon, 100%.
Who?
Doraemon. So he was actually, comic book, I guess, but he's an anime and then a comic book character. So
Sure.
He was actually created by a gentleman back in, I think Doraemon was born around the 50s. So he's by a Japanese gentleman who was actually a practicing family physician.
Okay.
Doraemon is a little blue robot cat from the 23rd century who comes back to 1960s Japan to help a little boy grow smarter and stronger, all that kind of stuff, who would eventually become his creator.
So it's like the opposite of Terminator.
Yeah, but it's all these like really cute little stories. And what I really liked was when Doraemon was first started, it's basically because this family physician was very fond of children, and he would tell them these fantastical stories of how, what if we had this technology, then you imagine what you can do with it. So Doraemon has this little pocket on his belly. It's the pocket to the fourth dimension, and anything you need it to do, he can pull something out of it. So if I need to go from here to Europe, he can pull a door out of it, and then you can just tell the door, I want to go to France. You open the door, you're in France. If you wanted to go fly in the sky, he would pull out this little, it's almost like a little helicopter rotator thing. You put it on your head and you can go flying. And so there were these, day-to-day, seemingly really childish and whatever requests that Doraemon would always figure out a way to help him solve. And then they would go on these really big epic adventures every once in a while. And then in everything that they do, like his I don't want to use the word master because he's not the master, he's his friend. His friend and his friend's friends, they will always find out something about themselves. So his friend was characterized as, this crybaby who doesn't do well in school, and he's very shy, but he has a huge crush on this girl who's their friend, and she's very smart. And then they have a friend who's very, very well off, and then they have a friend whose parents run like a really typical traditional sort of like a corner store in Japan, but actually, you know what? He was raised by a single mother. So he gave you this really interesting slice of what it was like to be in the Japanese society at the time. So in writing the comics, in addition to having these whimsical, lovely, childish fantasies, he also put in some really interesting messages that you go back and read as an adult and you can see it. But at the time when you were a kid, you were just like, oh yeah, I would love to have a thing that I can put on my head and fly around. Like, wouldn't that be great? Or, I would really love to put on this, sunscreen that lets me breathe underwater so I can walk through the Great Barrier Reef. Like, it's all these amazing imaginative stories, but it's meant to be this inspiring and creative process to inspire children. I loved it. I loved him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have to find that and check that out.
I still have a Doraemon stuffy on my dresser because, I, as a grown woman, still love Doraemon.
Yeah. That's interesting. To me, the idea of the robot coming back in time and inspiring his creator, that's so cool because it's we always tell kids, and a lot of kid narratives are roped around you can be anything, but it's coming from parents who have to say that. You know what I mean? They want you to be anything, but maybe you can't. But he knows you can. Like it's like proof from the future that you will be something. Let's work towards it, you know? That's so cool. Also, I have to say, like, that was amazing, that description. I love that, like, oh god, but there's a meme or something someone was showing me where it's like look at someone's face when you ask them about something that they love that you haven't heard of, and they go like, oh my god, I get to explain this for the first time. And they just get so excited. The answer to that question is never that interesting, because like it's usually like, what's your favorite comic book hero? Spider-Man. And we all know who Spider-Man is, so that's the end of the discussion. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, that was lots of fun, actually. Your face lit right up.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, Sue. And what did you think, Xavier?
Xavier, what is your favorite comic book character, if any?
Oh my gosh. It used to be Batman, but is it still Batman? There was like a Superman phase. There's definitely a Green Lantern phase. It might be Batman. I think it might be Batman. No, I had a few favorites.
Okay.
It started out with Batman. I usually come back to Batman. There was
Yeah.
the Flash there for like a while. I really liked the Flash. And then I think it's Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love all those characters, though. That's great. I feel like I like Batman regardless, and all the other characters I like depending on who's writing them. But Batman is like, even if you get the worst writer in the world, he's still Batman.
Still Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still Batman. Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's true. Because I loved Spider-Man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I used to love Spider-Man too. But something about Batman.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Thank you very much, Xavier.
Richard, what is your favorite comic book character, if you have one at all?
Favorite comic book character? Admittedly, Matt, I can't say that I'm like a huge comic book aficionado. And I say this now as I'm supposed to be going to a private viewing of Marvel's most recent release tonight, I believe. Can I tell you what the title of it is? I could not tell you what the title of the movie I'm supposed to be seeing.
Black Widow.
There we go. There we have it. I'm seeing Black Widow tonight. So in terms of who my favorite superhero would be, I'm going to go, I guess I'll go with a throwback to my childhood. He-Man, does he count?
Absolutely.
Back in the day. How about that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I grew up watching that on Saturday mornings. I think perhaps a lot of us around a certain age did. A lot of good memories watching that, in PJs with a bowl of cereal, legs folded in front of the TV screen, of course, only like 5 inches from your face. That sounds about right. I'm going to go with that.
I love He-Man because he takes off his clothes and nobody recognizes him. And that speaks to me. Like, people always get mad at the Clark Kent thing, that all he does is put on glasses and no one recognizes him.
I'm telling you.
All he does is take off his shirt.
We different man altogether, Matt, right? All together. I'm telling you.
Try it sometime. Try it at home and be like, just take off your shirt and be like, do you recognize me? They'll lock you
Amazing.
up.
Or better yet, in the middle of Times Square the next time I'm in New York, right? Yes. How about that? Right?
Yeah,
that is it. Opportune
yeah.
time.
I'm just waiting, like from someone in the States. You rob a jewelry store or something, and your disguise is you took off your shirt. No one will recognize me.
Oh my gosh! As I get aggressively tackled to the ground, if not worse, right?
Yeah. Oh my God!
Good times.
Oh, man.
Thank you very much, Richard. And what did you think, Lisa?
I love having people who are famous for serious literature on and ask this, because it's always the best answers.
Oh gosh, I mean, I'm gonna have to say Veronica.
From Archie?
Yeah.
Every lit fiction author says Archie, and I love it. I started out on Archie. He's that's one of my favorite books. Yeah, when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is, of course, that I'm not well versed in comic book fiction. I'm not even as well versed in graphic novels as I should be.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of images and words together, and I love the idea that a graphic novel, reads like a film, and that each frame is like a shot that's set up or composed in the same way that a cinematic shot might be. I think that's really exciting.
It is. It is. If you were ever looking to check out a wonderful... if you're ever looking to check out a wonderful, wonderful graphic novel that's lit fiction, that's not like superheroes or genre or anything like that, there's an autobiography by Craig Thomas called Blankets. It's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep.
It's about dealing with sexual abuse and learning to overcome that in the author's first relationship. It's very touching and wonderful.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Not that you asked. Sorry.
No, I love getting recommendations, especially in those areas that I'm not, that I need them, where I need to be guided. And that's one of them.
My editor-in-chief, my editor, had rented it from the library and was halfway through and was raving about it to me, and I asked to borrow it, and it's this massive phone book size because it's the length of a novel in visual form. So it's like the size of a phone book, but you can get through it pretty quickly because there aren't a ton of words on each page like there would be with a novel. And she made me promise to get it back to her within a week, and I got so into it that I stayed up till like 3 a.m. crying having to finish this book. And I got it back to her the next day and was just... And then I ruined it for her because I was like, have you read this? She was like, dude, I wasn't done.
That's funny.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Do you ever Google yourself?
I have, yes.
I'm assuming you come up when you do it.
I do, and a couple of other Lisa Moores. There's lots of us. One Lisa Moore probably had to deal with, being questioned about a lot of videotape late charges at some point at a certain place until I cleared up my bill. Oh. But yes, I've done it. I'm guilty as charged.
That question in and of itself, like, there is this airs on Mun Radio on CHMR. There is a large segment of the people listening to this live at Mun right now who won't know what a videotape late fee is.
Well, it's when you didn't bring the videotape back that you rented in order to watch a movie on your whatever.
Yeah.
VHS player. What is it called? What was it called?
VHS player, yeah, I think that was it.
Yes, well, it was bad. It was like library books. You got fines.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Tzu-Hao, do you ever Google yourself? And if so, what comes up, and are you happy with the results?
So, I've Googled myself a couple of times, not recently, but so I've done some work in the multicultural community throughout the years. So mostly it comes up as details of me as a performer, and there were past stories of me being an immigrant. But mostly it's actually kind of funny because my name in Mandarin, which is my native language, actually sounds incredibly masculine. So usually when I Google the spelling of my name, a whole bunch of like PhD candidates from like a Taiwanese university shows up, and none of them are me. So I think that's very entertaining for me.
Thank you very much, Sue. And what did you think, Xaiver?
No, I Google myself. I haven't, not since I started writing. I used to just Google myself to see if there were any other people with my name out there.
And what did you think, Richard?
Do you ever Google yourself? And if so, are you happy with the results?
So, Historically, I would have said no, but more recently, I've become more and more curious, aka paranoid, perhaps, about what exists out there under my name. So I'm always curious. So I wouldn't say that it's something that I'm doing steadily and frequently, but every now and again, maybe annually, you're kind of just curious about what's out there, and you want to take a look and see. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said I had not done that before. Is it a habit? I wouldn't say that's the case either, but I certainly have it Googled myself before. Absolutely.
Does your family support your career as a writer?
Right. I guess because my primary career is not writing, but in healthcare, I would say that certainly writing as a very, a sincere interest of mine alongside music, by the way, are things that they've always supported. And I guess I feel very, very fortunate because, like many kids of immigrant parents in general, but perhaps, I can speak from an Afro-Caribbean reality. Generally, there tends to be more of a push to kind of do things like, again, law, medicine, engineering, things that, parents believe is going to lead to, obviously monetary success, more stability, whatever have you. And sometimes within an Afro-Caribbean household, there's not that push towards kids engaging in the arts or, kind of pursuing more creative passions. But that was certainly not the case in my household. And I think my parents gave my sister and I tons of latitude to explore all of that and to encourage us in that direction as well, by way of private lessons or even some of the extracurriculars that we took part of growing up in our neighborhood as well too. So I feel super fortunate that way. So my creative writing is something that they've definitely enjoyed and loved and supported over the years, as they've done with my pursuits in music as well too. So that's been really, really cool.
Awesome. That's great.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Xaiver, does your family support your career as a writer?
Yeah. I'm very lucky.
Awesome.
Okay. My mom still wants me to go to law school, but she is content right now. But
That's
I mean,
fair.
she's probably always going to want me to go to law school until I go. So
Yeah. You'll be 90 and a best-selling author, surrounded by your many grandchildren, and your mom, who will still be with us, will call and be like, "Why aren't you going to law school? There's still time." Yeah. What does literary success look like to you? And for context, every writer kind of moves the goalpost. Like if you say like, "Oh, I'll be successful when this happens," when they reach it, then they'll move the goalpost to another thing. Like writers are happy. So I'm always like, what is success to you right now? Because if I ask you in a year, it might be different.
Right now, I guess for as many people as possible to hear the story of Jermaine.
Sure. That's reasonable. I think this collection is definitely going to do that. Yeah, I'm seeing it everywhere. Yeah. I really like the story of Jermaine, this prayer story. It's I'm not picking favorites or anything, but it's one of my favorites from the collection for sure. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, awesome writing.
Thank you very much, Xaiver.
Tzu-Hao, what does success in this industry look like to you?
I write because I want to keep a record, whether that even through fiction, of what I and those that I care for and have inspired me have gone through. So it's more about heritage and legacy for me at this point. I mean, for me, there's something really magical about the written word in my experience. And I mean, it's always been something that's been really fascinating. Like my parents used to laugh that, if you find me a really good piece of paper and a really, really smooth pen, you can entertain me for hours. And that's still true to this day. So for me, it's success is, I mean, I know some people think it's monetary, it's, the fame and the fortune and whatever that inspires you. And that's okay too. I mean, for folks who create professionally, that is a component of their success. But for me right now is just the opportunity to tell a story that probably has been told before, but perhaps not recorded. So for me, that the fact that it now shows up in print is a huge thing for me. So right now I'm quite pleased and happy with that.
Good. I'm glad. That's cool. I like that. That's a very cool goal, and that's very honest and self-aware. I want to say we usually get answers like, win this award or make X amount of money or something like that. That's an interesting one because that you actually might actually achieve a thing. Like whereas most authors, like I said, they reach something. I think most authors are looking for like a to fill a hole or maybe even just want to feel like a real author.
Mhm.
And like really there's no external thing that can fix that lack of self-validation within you, so they just look for that validation somewhere else, and then when they get it they say nope, that wasn't it, and off they go to the next success point.
And I mean, maybe that's how it motivates some people, and I think that's a perfectly fine way of conducting yourself as a writer. Because I mean, for some people, again, if they create professionally, then that's their means of making a living. And if your passion and art, your messages happens to also be financially successful, then that's all the more power and inspiration to you. I think that sounds great. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, for me, I'm of very humble origins, and I'm happy to stay that way.
Okay. All right. I like it. Fun.
Lisa Moore, what does literary success look like to you, in your opinion?
What literary success looks like is it's really when someone, anyone, even just one person, is touched deeply by something you've written. I think that is unparalleled feeling of sweet joy, and sometimes I'm talking about when someone is touched, when someone is understood what you were trying to do, and feel that they got it, and that it belongs to them. It belongs to them because they put the work into reading it. And so I think that is the most beautiful thing there is about writing. That is what success is. Or that's the most fulfilling thing. I don't know if there's such a thing as success as we usually mean that term, because we all know hundreds of fantastic writers who never had any success in terms of money or fame, or I have seen countless magnificent books that never reached publication, or there are many writers who became famous after they died. Most writers never make enough money to live on solely through writing. So those, I don't think, are the markers for success when it comes to writing. I mean, I wish they were,
Yeah.
but I just don't think they're the marker. I mean, they're a kind of success, I guess, but the real success is when the work touches someone.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And what did you think, Richard?
I think literary success for me is just being able to tell stories that I feel are authentic and resonate with my experience, and that tell stories that maybe have rolled around my mind for a while, to share them and be able to relate them to others in a way that is honest and true and speaks to experiences that I can relate to. And I think just having the opportunity to do that, even through us now, has been a remarkable experience. Being able to write creatively, to express, that in and of itself is a success. I would say just being able to tell stories that are authentic and true to what I know, therein lies a success in and of itself. Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you much.
And that is one that you can kind of keep with you. You know what I mean? That's not
Yep.
one of those like so a lot of the goals that people mention are very like
Right.
well, I want to win this award. I'm like, that's not going to
Correct.
fill the hole. Whatever
Not
you're
so
trying to
much.
fill, that's not going to do
Absolutely.
it.
Right. And I think, again, as well, like for a lot of us, and I know obviously for a number of us as a part of the Quilted Collective, we do hail from racialized backgrounds. Perhaps we're immigrants ourselves, or, first generation Canadians of immigrant parentage. we don't necessarily see tons of representation of our voices or our stories. And so to be able to do that, just tell it as it is in a way that makes most sense to you is a wonderful thing in and of itself. And so, yeah, as cliche as it may sound, just having the room and the space to tell your story as you know it is a wonderful thing, I think, and a success in my own mind. How
Big
about
time.
that?
Big time.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What, if anything, did you edit out of your story from Us Now?
Great question. So admittedly, my short story is among the shorter of the shorts in the book. So there was not a lot of removing really that I did. In terms of maybe elements of the story that I might have encompassed, or what have you, I probably would have done even more of delving into experience around the sights and taste of local food in Barbados. One of my favorite things to do when I'm on the island is to go to the fish fry in an area of the island called Oystons on Friday nights. And it's a whole like arts and culture market every Friday night, live bands, dancing, you name it, it's going on down there. Grilled, roasted fish, lobster, steak, you name it, it's going on down there. And it's just absolute bliss for the senses because you're seeing, smelling, tasting just a wealth of things all at once. And it's just sensory overload in the very best of ways. And absolutely something I love to do when I'm there. So I think I probably might have incorporated a scene from Oystons on a Friday night, what that looks like, smells like, tastes like. But that was not incorporated in the piece.
That was beautiful. It gave me tingles. That sounds great. Sounds great. I like it.
That is it. Can you tell I'm a little bit patriotic, right? I tell you what, that is
especially
it. I
about food. I can see being
passionate about that, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Do I have a fellow foodie in the midst, or I don't know? Yes,
you do,
huh?
but like
Okay.
at the same time, there's a part of me. I'm a weird Newfoundlander in that I'm very allergic to seafood and definitely allergic to shellfish. So I'm just sitting there like all of the smells of the lobster and stuff like that.
Right,
like, oh,
right.
Man, I can't go there.
Torture, I tell you, absolutely. And of course, there's the great exchange that existed between the Caribbean and Newfoundland, rum for salt fish, right? Look at that, right?
Yeah. The best rum.
Well, thank you much. Absolutely. And we did some pretty cool things with that saltfish too. So thank you.
Awesome. Great.
Absolutely.
Love it.
It's so central to so much of what we cook. Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was an exchange. That's cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely is.
Love
Wonderful
that.
partnership right there, right?
That is an awesome partnership.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Tzu-Hao, what did you edit out of this story? Is there anything that made it on the cutting room floor?
Actually, I added to the story instead of taking away. I mean, I think in Across Oceans, I mostly focused on my first draft was actually a very, almost like a glimpse of the water sort of thing, because you got to remember that because the father wasn't there physically, like I know it's told through the second person perspective. So you're almost in his head, but you remember that because he wasn't there, there are a lot of milestones that all he knows are details. So it's almost like his memories of how things happened is almost like you skipped a rock across the water, like you didn't really get to dive in. So my first draft of the story was actually significantly shorter. It was just this focus entirely mostly on the important conversation that he has with one of his children. And then as we were going through, one of my co-authors and my editor actually had said to me that, I would love to see a part of him that would surprise me. So I added in a very specific scenario in the story that, if looking in, it seems very insignificant, but it's a very defining moment of who he is as a father to one of his kids.
Okay, I like it. Now I gotta think about what that was. Now I got. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Xaiver, what did you edit out of this story? What didn't make it through?
What didn't make it into this story? There was, what was not in there? There was more, I think there was like more of the current husband like in Jamaica, so I would have given out, I guess, more of his life, more details of his life that I think it was too much, so I just cut it out. Yeah.
Cool. Makes sense. Makes sense. Kind of keep
Jamaica
it
stuff more present, more
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not present, but more like a concentrated story of the past. Yeah.
Yeah. Make it more past tense. Cool.
Yeah.
I like it. There you go.
All right, well, thanks for coming on again. For all of you, we'll be here again next week at 4:30 Newfoundland time or online at chmr.ca. Please tune in and we'll talk more about writing culture in Newfoundland.